All right, so for the second round of playtesting, I was using my version 2.0 prototype, which was basically my version 1 prototype, but incorporated all the changes that I talked about in my last video. Anyways, for this round of playtest, I started involving friends and family, and I started formalizing my rule book, started writing the ideas down instead of just having them in my head. The first run through of the version 2 playtest was basically just to check and make sure nothing was absolutely broken, that the game technically worked. After that, then I started focusing more on how it felt to play the game, a little less on the big mechanics and more on the small details. So I started tracking the smaller details, like who was winning. Was it the first person who played, or was it the second or the last? Was there an advantage to go in a certain order? I also paid attention to the time that it took to play a little closer, seeing if we could get that time to be more consistent. Taking note on how far the excavation went, how far, what tiers were still there, what tiers had been fully excavated, and stuff like that, as well as, you know, what level of pickaxe people had at the end of the game. Overall, just testing these changes to see how I liked them, how they worked, as I continued to play with a few new things, one of which being the number of mercenary cards available. I tried limiting it for a few tests and didn't really like how that worked, so I didn't have a limit, and then I made it so that you could only have one at a time, and that's kind of where I ended with that one. But just kind of played with the mercenary cards, trying to keep people from hoarding cards, but incentivize the purchase of the mercenaries, and making interesting decisions about when to buy mercenary and what level to buy when you do that. I also played with the number of dirts you had to get before you stopped your turn, trying to bring more of the push your luck feeling was another feeling I was really trying to emphasize. But I didn't want to slow down the turns. So I wanted to slow down some turns, but not slow down the whole game. So that was the trick that I was trying to balance. Another element I was testing that towards the end of the what I'm going to call the second round of playtesting, I was trying to figure out, again, this push your luck element of what does that feel like? What does that look like? And originally I had it, at this point, it was you had a limit of drawing 3 on your turn. And then towards the end of this round of playtesting, I started toying with the idea of not having a limit on cards you can draw. I called this my full luck version. Anyways, you had to decide each time. So I started toying with that at the end. Anyways, those are the main highlights for my second round of play testing. Just drilling down on the smaller things, taking note on how it made me feel, what it was, and expanding my tests to a few more people outside of, just myself and my wife. So yeah, that's the second round of play tests.